Hey, welcome back to Theo's Coffee Break podcast for the next installment of How to Transform Your Life. And today we will be talking about the Crest of Light. So, coming off of last week's episode about the Crest of Hope, we yeah, that was a pretty heavy episode, but it was very good and very healing and important to know as I was debunking and breaking down what hope really is. And much like hope, light, I think, also needs to get a more grounded perspective, as it's not all sunshine, rainbows, butterflies, unicorns. It's actually an imperative driving force and the only solution to really defeat evil, to really banish darkness. And that's what I'll be breaking down today with the help of my friends Kari and Gatomon. Kari and Gatomon's story is all about light, that their testimony and their truth in this speaks of profound levels of darkness that they have had to battle within themselves and also outside of them. That when you're walking the path of light, it's not easy. You will be dealing with a lot of temptation, a lot of deception. You'll experience your own betrayal. At times, you will feel like the very path for being on the good side, for the forces of good, you will feel betrayed by those beliefs. You will feel betrayed by everyone else around you at times. But with this episode, I will be talking about how important it is to continue to remember that just as much as there are problems and challenges and dead ends, you are the solution. You are the answer, and you are going to be the only person that is going to be able to get yourself out of whatever it is that you're going through. So come on over for this week's coffee break as we will be diving into the Crest of Light. And in looking for this, it's in season 3, and in the title, there'll be some light in it. All right, I'll see you there. All right, turning off the phone, turning off my light, and coming back to you. Hey there. Oh, my lord. Yeah. So today we're talking about light. And yeah, coming off of last week's episode, as I mentioned there, I'm not really the guy that's all like love, light, joy, and that might be contrary to popular belief, but again, I've led a life that, for me, I felt like that if you weren't doing something, if you weren't on the move, if you weren't making things happen, then nothing was going to happen for you. And that's coming from a place of just being hyper independent and being let down. And as I said before, walking the path of light, you still experience those same problems. But it requires discernment within yourself to know what side are you on. So I want to start this off by saying, how is it we can see the light in others but not within ourselves? And I think a lot of that confusion comes from a place of, at times, we don't realize that we're being our own worst enemy. It's so funny how we can just live our entire existence and never once question, are we our own friend? Or are we against ourselves? And for a lot of my life, and looking back and seeing how in those times I felt lost or felt like I was being led astray, I was blaming my circumstances. I was blaming people around me. Because you want to know why? Because they were hurting me. They were betraying me. They were not on my side. And that built up a lot of resentment. And that resentment was rooted in actual truth. It was easy to justify that I had every reason. I'm trying my best not to cry. I've been crying a lot in these episodes, and that's just part of the transformation, right? It's like, man, it's messy. There's nothing clean or beautiful about it. But I know some people have been uncomfortable with the crying and the tears. So I'm going to do my best to hold it together here for you. And just side note, coming off of like the Hope episode, these are two topics that do not come naturally to me. But what was really interesting as I was working on these outlines, how easy it was for me to write the outlines. It was like it was there inside of me this whole time. So coming back to the question is like, how is it we can see the light in others but not within ourselves? And I think it's because we get lost in the truth at times. There's a lot of truth that we're being dealt with, especially with AI. AI has completely changed how we learn. We can learn the truth just with a few couple sentences or just not even complete thoughts. Throw them into OpenAI, ChatGPT, wherever it is, Gemini, I don't know. And you have it. It's right there. Right? It's right there. So how is it that we can't see that light within ourselves? When did it get so confusing that we have forgotten or silenced our own voice? And a big part of this transformation has been about reclaiming my voice, reclaiming my narrative, trusting my decisions, trusting that what I have to say is the right thing. And I want to say to every single person who tunes in every single week, it means a lot. And the reason why it means a lot is because for a long time I felt forgotten. I felt forgotten. I felt invisible. And I felt like I was thrown away and treated like yesterday's garbage. But here, in this podcast, and at our coffee table, every single time when I see someone show up to listen, it makes me remember that I still have a place in this world, and that my journey and my work is not done, and that coming out of the darkness and into the light, again, when you show up and you listen, you remind me that I do belong and that I'm not forgotten. So I want to say thank you. And we're going to keep on going here with the light within us is our guiding light when we are lost or led astray. And that's how this podcast came to be. It was kind of interesting how for a lot of my life, a lot of people said, have you ever thought about doing a podcast? And I was like, no. I have never thought about doing a podcast. And to be honest, I really don't listen to other podcasts. I know, isn't that crazy? I really don't. And I have my own, and I really should, and I need to. But this was something that I know that it was a part of God's plan. I know that this is, God works in mysterious ways, and this is what he led me to, is that when I first began this podcast, there was a specific verse that came into my life that I've heard many times before, but this was my confirmation to know that Theo's coffee break is meant to exist. And that verse is Psalm chapter 119, verse 105. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Knowing this helped me recognize that my own light and the words that I have to speak are meant to serve others by helping them see their own. And by their own, I mean their truth, your light. And it was coming from learning how to not just survive in darkness, but thrive in darkness. I'm not a person that operates in darkness. I'm very transparent. And one of the best compliments that I get is when somebody meets me in real life, they're like, oh my gosh, you look just like your pictures. Or I've met a couple people that listen to my podcast. They're like, wow, you sound just like you do on your podcast. That's the biggest compliment to me, because I value transparency. It comes from being a person that has worked in retail for a lot of my life. Also being a server, a waiter. When I used to sell Cutco knives, I was confident in selling those knives because I knew that they were a good product. And so when I put myself out there online and in my work, I'm showing up authentically, right where I'm at, because I don't want people to be confused, and I don't want people to think that I'm trying to sell them something that isn't of value. And I don't believe that I'm selling myself either. I believe what I'm doing is sharing my wisdom and sharing my light to help you see that your light is just as valuable as mine, but we are not one and the same. So this is why we are meant to coexist with our differences and learn to respect each other and work together and all of those great things. That's why it's so important that we value the light. That out of the darkness and into the light is the rainbow. That's the promise. And in order for us to find the light at the end of the tunnel, we must seek the answers within ourselves and trust those answers to make our own choices and decisions. So in knowing this as well, we are also recognizing that choosing the path of light is not easy. The light illuminates the truth, and its holy fire burns away all that is false. I have seen a lot of people project light, and I think we're seeing a lot of this now as the illusions are breaking away and we're starting to see things for what they really are, or seeing people for who they really are. We have to be careful that if we are projecting light, joy, love, and all these things, is it for our own ambitions, or is it actually to further the glory of God's kingdom? And if you're not a spiritual person, if you're not a religious person, then ask yourself this: what is the outcome that I'm hoping for here? Okay, because you don't have to be religious, you don't have to be spiritual, and you don't have to believe in God and recognizing the real value that is found when we choose to serve others. Because this whole series, I have been talking about this over and over and over. Preserving the human element in humanity is done when we are able to coexist with each other and learn how to build community together. And we can't judge other people on how it is that they choose to do that. Some people do that online. Some people do that with boots on the ground. Some people do that with their own small businesses, whether it's a restaurant or a retail shop, or maybe they own their own McDonald's. If that's what they feel called to do, then let them do that. But we can't judge somebody when we can see that they are pursuing something that they feel called to do. And I really think that's coming from a place when people do that, and I know this because this used to be me, it was coming from a place of insecurity. What makes them feel like they're so special? What makes them think that they can do that and that they're going to be successful? Who gave them the audacity? Who is supporting them? Why on earth would they do that? They must be stupid. We've all heard that before. And we keep hearing that, and it's still happening, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why, because it's not truth. It's not light. And honestly, when I hear that, I think that you're painting yourself in a really bad light. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want to be around you. Because that kind of negative Nelly talk isn't productive. It doesn't really build yourself up, and it doesn't really build anyone else up. It's a waste of time. I'm just being honest, because someone's got to say it. Right? So when we choose to walk the path of light, we have to be careful not to desecrate it. That's blasphemy in God's eyes. When you try to talk about things that you don't understand, and you're on this pedestal that you're placing yourself on, acting holier than thou, trying to make yourself look like you're the better person by whatever means necessary, you got to be careful, okay? Because pride does come before the fall, and the bigger you are, the harder you fall. And at the end of the day, I have always said this: the truth will prevail. The truth always comes out. And in the end, true justice will reign victorious. It's just the way the world works. What goes around comes around. Karma, all those things. There's a reason why those things are said, because there is truth in that. So walking the path of light, you must have a warrior spirit and the inner strength to walk this path. But know that you are not alone. And trust that if you ever forget who you are, the light within us is there to help you remember who you are. And what that light within you is trying to help you remember is your purpose. That light is going to illuminate your path. But you have to remember you are the one who walks it. And choose to keep moving forward in the light. There is a beetle on my hand. I don't know where it came from. It looks like a little ladybug. I'm going to just set you down over there, bud, because you're distracting me. All right, there you go. Sorry. Okay. Guys, we have a little friend here in the studio. All right, there he goes. I said it before in the last episode that prayer without action is just you talking to the wind. Hope without action is just wishful thinking. And your path, it can be illuminated, but just like when you take a horse to water, you can't make the horse drink. So just because your path is illuminated doesn't mean that you're going to be carried. It means that you're going to be supported. So you have to keep moving forward. You have to put the steps in. You have to put the work in. You have to show up. You have to be present. You have to engage with your work. And know that no matter how dire or detrimental things may seem, when God calls and you answer the phone, He will fulfill the promise here. But you got to keep moving towards the light. So with that, I want to introduce you to my friends Kari and Gatomon. Oh my gosh. Their testimony and their story was one that was really frustrating. Any of my people out there who watched Digimon from the very beginning, like when it first aired, having to wait every week for another episode, because streaming services didn't exist then. That's how old I am. And they just, it was awful. It was heartbreaking. It was terrible. And what made this so frustrating for those of you who don't know their story, Kari wasn't there from the very beginning with the other Digi-Destined. It wasn't until later on in the series did they realize that there was an 8th Digi-Destined. And she possesses the Crest of Light. So a big part of the arc there, and I know this is a spoiler alert, but it was trying to figure out who she was, who they were. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? We don't know. We don't know who this 8th Digi-Destined is. And it wasn't until when Joe and TK and Ikakumon and Patamon were traveling through the ocean did they stumble across someone that needed help. And that was Wizardmon, who was trying to get the Crest of Light to Kari. And in that moment, they realized that Kari was Ty's little sister. And then just to get the crest to Kari, it was stolen by Myotismon. And Myotismon, without his knowledge, had Kari's partner, Gatomon, under his control. Gatomon led a very troubled life. And she fell off her path, and she got in with the wrong crowd. And in that crowd, she got abused. She was treated like an animal. And the celestial ring that was given to her by the divine order was taken from her. And she didn't really know the value of that ring. But others knew that if Gatomon had that ring, it would allow her to digivolve into a celestial being, which is Angemon's counterpart, Angelomon. So through all of this, their paths just kept on falling apart. It was like they were never going to meet each other. Not at this rate. Things were taking forever. And everybody on the same side of the screen as I was just screaming at the TV. Oh my god, the 8th Digi-Destined is Kari. Gatomon is her partner. What is so hard about this? And now the Crest of Light is in the wrong hands. And that horrible freak is abusing the crap out of Gatomon. there was a moment where they met for just a minute. And the minute that Gatomon and Kari met, they knew that they were meant to be together. But Gatomon knew that her priority was to protect Kari. I believe Kari was 6 years old in the show, by the way. Just to give you an idea. Again, the kids, TK, 8 years old, Kari, 6 years old, are the ones that possess the most powerful Digimon. Like, crazy, right? And they're meant to save the world. And Kari's light is an imperative part in banishing evil from the digital world just as much as protecting the real world. Because at this point, the evil from the Digi world is now in the real world. And it's succeeding in overtaking the earth with the goal of putting it into total darkness and creating the void, which later on in the series we get introduced to the void. It's very terrifying, it's very freaky, it's almost impossible to beat. But anyways, even then, yeah, their journey was just that. Just feeling lost, helpless, powerless, with nothing that can be done. It was outside of their hands. They were relying on the help of the other Digi-Destined to reunite them together. And the one thing that Gatomon said to Myotismon, because Myotismon made fun of her and said, "You silly cat in your stupid dreams. Look at where you're at. You're no better off than from when I found you. And all you keep talking about is your dreams. Like, dream on, kid." That's what they are. Dreams. They're going to get you nowhere. And Gatomon said, "That may be what you think, but my dreams are what have gotten me to where I am today. And I know that every day that I keep moving forward, I'm going to be reunited with the very person that is going to remind me of who I really am." So skipping a little bit farther ahead, because I don't want to leave you with this negative note, but this is what it's like to walk in the path of light. This is what it's like choosing the light. Turmoil. Torment. You feel like you're tortured in your very existence and being punished for wanting to do the right thing. You feel like you're being punished for choosing to be a good person. And life just seems unfair. And you ask yourself, why? Why does it have to be like this? So to give you the happy ending here, many, many episodes later, 5 years later it seems like, they're up against Myotismon. The Digi-Destined finally reunite. And Wizardmon is there to help Kari and Gatomon because he pledged like a promise to himself that he was going to see this through to the very end and make sure that Gatomon remembers who she is. But he takes a severe blow from Myotismon in protecting Gatomon and Kari. And what they don't really show us is that he actually loses his life to protect them. But what he was able to see was Gatomon and Kari helping Gatomon remember who she is by recognizing the light that is within her and telling Gatomon that she wasn't beyond saving. That she can still fulfill her purpose. Was she able to digivolve into her mega evolution, Angelomon. And with the help of Angemon and Angelomon together, they were able to cast Judgment Day on Myotismon. And with the help of all the other Digimon, Heaven's declaration was called, eliminating Myotismon for good. So I want you guys to remember, and how we serve others is how we remind them of who they are, as they already are. Not to control them, not to make them the same. We remind them that they are not a lost cause. We are meant to remind them that they are not just their mistakes. By us helping them see the light within themselves, we help them see that no matter what, there is still a path forward. We are meant to show others that the past is just that, the past. And in us helping others, we help them let go of the very things that are hurting them and weighing them down by sharing with them the light that is within ourselves. So before I end this episode, I want to read you another prayer, because to be honest, I've been praying a lot. Heavenly Father, when the chaos of life overwhelms me, I feel the weight of anxiety pressing on my heart. It's like a storm raging inside of me, leaving me restless, and leaves me searching for relief. But you, my God, are the giver of peace, the one who calms every storm and quiets every fear. Today, I bring just that, my fears and my worries to you, and I lay them at your feet, trusting that you are greater than anything I face. Silence is the noise in my mind, Lord, so I ask you to fill my heart with your steadying presence. Remind me that I am not alone, and that you are with me in every moment, even when I can't feel it. I ask you to drive out every anxious thought and replace it with your truth. Speak your promises over my heart, that you are my refuge and my strength and my ever-present help. I ask you to please fill me with your peace, because I know that your peace surpasses all understanding, because that kind of peace can only come from you. Lord, let your Spirit guide me and comfort me. Help me to trust you with all that I cannot control, and to rest in the knowledge that you are in control. Teach me to find joy, even in the chaos, knowing that your plans for me are good and can be found in your light. In your most precious name, amen. Oh, man. And so with that, we need to remember this as well. Only together can we break free from the chains. Only together can salvation be shared. And it is up to us to battle evil with the forces of good, to carry out and uphold the promise of God's amazing grace. That this is not outside of us, but the light is already within us, waiting for us to take hold and share it with the world. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry for all these tears. But now, I am asking you who is listening to me right now, I am pleading that you choose to show up in the light. Because only in the light, and only by choosing joy, and only by carrying out the truth, can we drive out evil and beat the darkness away. That is sadly just overtaking our world at an imminent pace. Please, show up and share your light and speak your truth. Because this is something that we all need to do as individuals. And this is going to be the only way that we can find each other in the darkness. So thank you for sitting with me today for today's coffee break. This episode about the Crest of Light and the Crest of Hope I know are so important. And even though I feel like I am the very last person that should be talking about these things, there's a reason why I am called to talk about these things. And so, with that, if you are able, for free, please help me by rating my podcast. I know it sounds so silly after everything we just talked about, but it really does help. But I also want to remind you to be kind. Please take care of yourself. And until I see you in next week's episode, remember, if you ever get lost in your darkness, if you ever feel like you're alone, you're not. You're not alone. And you are always welcome here at our coffee table. See you in the next episode.